The observation deck. The orbiting research station Virilax had hovered above Earth's atmosphere for 17 standard cycles. A marvel of precision engineering, it was staffed by the brightest minds from the Kalari Dominion, a peaceful but meticulous species known for their obsession with categorizing life across the galaxy. For centuries, they had cataloged every form of life they encountered, from single-cell floaters in nebulous swamps to the crystalline grazers of Alaris Prime. But Earth was proving difficult. Dr. Vemthal, chief xenobiologist aboard the station, stood rigidly on the observation deck. His cerulean tendrils twitched in frustration as he reviewed the latest field footage. "Another specimen has displayed unprovoked aggression," he muttered, adjusting the data lens over his second set of eyes. "This one, the honey badger, resisted neurodampening fields and nearly disabled a drone. It even showed signs of strategic fainting behavior." His assistant, a slender Kalari named Rija, floated beside him, antennae furled in concern. "Doctor, that's the 5th one this week to defy subjugation protocols. Our containment fields aren't designed for such resilience." Vemthal grunted. "No, Rija, they're designed for normal fauna, not these." The holographic screen displayed the honey badger now, bloodied, limping from an energy net, yet still tearing through reinforced metal like it was moss. Its eyes glowed with something unnerving, not mere instinct, but will. "They don't follow pattern matrices," Rija said softly, tapping through scans. "Their aggression-to-mass ratios exceed those of apex predators on 10 recorded death worlds. Even they're herbivores." "Don't speak to me of the hippopotamus again," Vemthal snapped. "That creature is a war crime encased in meat." Rija nodded, suppressing a shiver. The Kalari had lost 2 drones and an observation pod to what they had initially classified as a plump aquatic grazer. The hippo had sunk its tusks into the armored hull and ripped it open like a fruit pod. But it wasn't just the hippos. Crocodiles had pretended to be dead, then snapped traps in half. Orcas exhibited behavior rivaling coordinated military squads. The avian called cassowary had outmaneuvered 4 scout drones in under 30 seconds, with 2 drones now deemed unrecoverable. Even the insects, especially the insects, were a nightmare. "It's as if this planet trained its wildlife for war," Vemthal whispered. "Or worse, they evolved for it." In a sterile chamber deep in the research wing, the Data Council gathered. 7 Kalari minds connected via neural tether, forming a consensus web of logic, memory, and analysis. Above them floated holograms of the most notable Earth creatures: orcas, Komodo dragons, poison dart frogs, electric eels, swarms of driver ants, even a species of fungus that could hijack the minds of insects and control their bodies like puppets. Each projection displayed violent footage with biometric overlays and failure logs. The room pulsed with anxiety. Statistical models suggest Earth's entire ecosystem is built upon competition, survival through violence, and an almost artistic expression of predation, said Dr. Coral, data strategist. They have apex predators for every niche: land, sea, air. Many evolved redundancies for killing: fangs and venom, speed and camouflage. Some attack after death. Explain. Coral pointed toward the screen. A close-up image of a blue-ringed octopus. This creature delivers a neurotoxin that is 1,200 times more potent than cyanide. It fits in the palm of your hand, yet can kill 10 adult Kalari in a minute. It does not attack unless provoked, but its warning display is visually hypnotic, increasing likelihood of contact. A natural tactical lure. Even their visuals are weapons, muttered Rija. That's deeply unsettling. Then the spider footage played. One of the younger analysts disconnected from the neural tether and vomited into a sanitation unit. Back on the surface of Earth, the Kalari's environmental probes continued their observations. One such drone, disguised as a fallen tree branch, relayed footage of what had been labeled corvidi, or crows. What began as simple curiosity evolved into a full-blown behavioral crisis. The crows were using tools. More than that, they were baiting other animals, setting up traps with human-like timing. One drone recorded a group of crows herding a wild dog into a ravine using coordinated calls. When the dog fell and broke its leg, the bird swooped in with surgical precision. Not to eat, but to dissect. No confirmed prior behavior of this kind exists in their databanks, Vemthal said, watching the footage play. But they adapted the moment they realized we were watching. They're not just intelligent. They're reactive, adaptive. They're watching us, Regia said, and learning. The breaking point came 3 days later. The Virilax's AI sent an emergency alert to the council chamber. Warning, predator breach, code Omega. The researchers rushed to the containment wing where a creature, temporarily held in a cryofield, had thawed, a juvenile wolverine. Initial scans underestimated its muscle density, and when the field faltered due to solar interference, the animal tore its way through reinforced alloy, severed 2 conduits, and escaped into the ventilation system. Security drones were dispatched. 10 minutes later, all visuals went dark. Then, the lights across the station flickered and dimmed. They found the wolverine perched atop the main power node, gnawing through cable after cable like it knew what it was doing. The AI sent a desperate plea in binary code to the creature to stop. The Kalari watched in paralyzed silence as the wolverine paused, sniffed the air, and then leapt not away, but toward the primary backup generator. Disable gravity, Vemthal roared. They did. The creature tumbled, momentarily disoriented, but adapted mid-air. Using the turbulence, it clawed its way toward a cooling vent and vanished again. I've had enough, said Vemthal, trembling. This is no longer xenobiology. This is war. Hours later, the Data Council issued its most severe classification. Planetary fauna. Class null. Designation. Living weapons. An embargo was enacted immediately. Observation teams were withdrawn. The Virilax was scheduled for sterilization to prevent potential biohazard cross-contamination. No trace of Earth was to reach Kalari space. As they prepped the final reports, Regia looked once more at the screen. Footage played silently. A badger defending its den from a mountain lion. An orca lifting a shark out of water, intentionally drowning it. A praying mantis eating its mate. We always assumed the humans were the dangerous ones, she whispered. Vemthal stared into the growing silence, his tendrils drooping with dread. No, he said. Humans are just the result. And as the Virilax powered its engines to leave orbit, far below in the jungles and deserts, in oceans and tundras, countless eyes watched the sky and remembered. The predator's Earth hides. The transport vessel Threxeldon drifted silently above Earth's stratosphere, its cloaked presence invisible to ground-based technology. At least, that was the assumption. Within its reinforced observation deck, lead zoologist Kvarn of the Zyrellan Expeditionary Biological Authority, ZEBA, dictated into his recorder with measured urgency. Log entry 391B. Following our initial analysis of Terran fauna, we now shift our focus to mobile apex predators. Initial field scans suggest Earth operates under extreme ecological pressure, every niche brimming with organisms capable of hyperlethal responses. Kvarn paused, his mandibles clicking nervously as he watched the holographic replay from the forested region known as the Amazon. A creature leapt from the trees, furred, streamlined, its claws glinting with a natural curvature designed for puncture and shredding. The Terrans called it a jaguar. The beast moved without sound, a shadow among light, slipping through underbrush and emerging only to kill. Kvarn gulped. The footage showed a Zyrellan drone, spider-legged and scanning, unaware of the death that stalked it. In a flash of spotted fury, the jaguar struck. The drone's armor crumpled beneath sheer muscle force, and its core module, rated to withstand ion storms, was crushed in seconds. The feline suborder, Kvarn whispered, is not a relic but a dominant force. By Zyrellan classification systems, these creatures would rank above Tier 4 war beasts. Zoologist Dravix entered the chamber, looking more unnerved than usual. We ran scans in the subarctic. Local wildlife includes Ursus arctos horribilis. Terrans call it the grizzly bear. Alone it repelled 2 autonomous drones. We thought it would retreat. Kvarn narrowed his eyes. Did it? No. Dravik said, almost whispering. It tracked the third drone. It watched it. It waited. It lured it to the den. Then it destroyed it. Kvarn stood, turning toward the large central projection now displaying a topographical scan of the Eurasian steppe. These are not mere animals, Draviks. This biosphere forges predators with patience, strategy, and fury. There's intelligence behind the eyes of even their so-called lower species. Draviks hesitated. Permission to speak unscientifically? Kvarn nodded. It's like Earth trains everything to kill. Far below, in Yellowstone National Park, a new drone unit moved through pine woods and geothermal plains. The Sentry 9X, adapted for stealth ecology scanning, floated along a warm geyser bank, its sensors wide open. Its directive: sample herbivorous quadrupeds. Found a bison herd. Massive creatures, almost comically shaped, with towering shoulders and thick fur. On the surface, they appeared docile, grass-chewing relics of a simpler evolutionary tree. The drone approached cautiously. Its error was assuming passivity equaled safety. One bull turned. The motion was almost lazy until it wasn't. The beast launched forward with a bellow that shook pine needles from nearby trees. The Sentry 9X triggered evasive protocols but misjudged the acceleration curve of a ton of raw mammal muscle. The impact folded the drone like tinfoil. Data feed cut in under a second. On the Threxeldon, technicians reeled back from consoles as error messages flooded across the main deck. It wasn't startled, Draviks muttered. It saw us. It understood. Kvarn's next report was more guarded. Zyrellin systems classify planetary fauna from level 1 docile to level 7 lethal. On Earth, even a level 2 herbivore behaves like a trained defense drone. They reviewed the footage again. Lions stalking from savannas, wolves maneuvering as coordinated units, crocodiles lying still beneath muddy water for hours. But it wasn't the solitary predators that haunted the crew. It was the pack hunters. Draviks gestured to the Arctic scans. Canids. They operate in structured groups, communicating through tones and body language. Their strategies evolve in real time. Look here. This group encircles prey while two lead wolves distract. They're not animals, said analyst Ryrax, who had once studied engineered combat organisms for the Zyrellin military. They're soldiers. The decision was made. Test Earth's environment in a more direct fashion. A controlled scout party would descend masked to study predatory response firsthand. The Meyer contingent, a trio of heavily armored biology soldiers, dropped near a location classified as Deep Swamp, Louisiana Bayou. They lasted 7 minutes. Footage returned in jagged fragments. The swamp at first seemed calm. Then movement, subtle, barely visible, like leaves shifting in unnatural rhythm. One soldier paused. Audio captured a low hiss, then silence. A reptilian shadow exploded from the water, Alligator mississippiensis, according to Earth records. The creature's jaws clamped down on the scout's thigh, dragging him under. Within seconds, the others were swarmed by aggressive insects, birds with razored beaks, and thick entangling flora that resisted blade and laser. They didn't just encounter predators. They encountered an ecosystem designed to immobilize, distract, and finish. Back aboard the Threxeldon, morale plummeted. Zoology has failed us, said Commander Hirel. These aren't natural species. They're planetary deterrents. Kvarn leaned back in his seat, rubbing his eye cluster. No civilization should evolve alongside creatures like these and survive. And yet, the Terrans did, finished Draviks. Worse, they thrived. They turned to Earth's historical logs. What they found chilled them more than the jaguars or grizzlies. Humans hunted these beasts, domesticated them, used them for labor, companionship, and war. Ancient records showed cavalry units on horseback, warhounds bred for aggression, even falcons trained to kill mid-flight. This wasn't coexistence. It was partnership. They raised their children beside monsters, Ryrax muttered, and they tamed them. Later, Kvarn addressed the High Assembly of Galactic Xenobiologists via encrypted transmission. Esteemed colleagues, he began, Earth must be classified not merely as a Class 7 death world, but as a biological anomaly. Every creature here, from the smallest insect to the apex carnivores, demonstrates an evolution of warfare and survival unlike anything in our databases. He leaned forward, lowering his voice. And yet, the most dangerous element is not any one species. It's the species that taught the others to kneel, that trained nature to answer commands, that walked side by side with fire-breathing mammals, venomous reptiles, airborne killers, and made them allies. A final clip played. A human boy, barely into adolescence, calling to a massive dog. The beast, large enough to frighten Xyrellans by appearance alone, bounded over and sat obediently. The boy laughed. The dog wagged its tail. Kvarn stared in silence. We have no classification for this. Earth's wildlife was forged for war. But humanity taught it loyalty. And in the silence that followed, across the stars, no one spoke of invasion again. The Apex Protocol. The air aboard the Zenthari research vessel Ulkar had changed. It was no longer filled with the crisp sterility of controlled environments or the subtle hum of precise instruments. Now it crackled with tension, thick, oppressive, alive. Dr. Ryvac slithered quickly into the briefing chamber, his gill flaps twitching with agitation. Around the curved obsidian table sat the remaining xenobiological team. 2 were absent. 1 confirmed dead. The other missing in the dense jungle of the Amazon exclusion zone. Begin the Apex Protocol, Ryvac rasped. The tone in his voice uncharacteristically clipped. The chamber fell into stunned silence. You're certain? Asked Valera, her mandibles trembling. We haven't even begun classification of the Arctic variants. And the Saharan subspecies. Ryvac slammed a clawed appendage onto the table. We are not ready to classify anything. We came to study fauna, not survive a planetary gauntlet. He activated the central holodisplay. A 3D projection of Earth's biosphere rotated lazily above the table. With a flick, he zoomed into South America, overlaying glowing red danger zones across Brazil, Peru, Colombia. The entire Amazon basin pulsed crimson. This, he continued, is a Class Omega ecological biosphere. These aren't animals. They are designed obstacles. Predators with evolutionary algorithms instead of instincts. Adaptation timeframes that defy biological law. And a kill ratio that rivals our military-grade war beasts. One of the younger interns, Click, chittered nervously. Surely you're exaggerating, Doctor. These are just native creatures. Terran evolution is unusual, yes, but natural. If we simply map the food chains. Ryvac turned to the projection and pulled up footage from their lost team's final transmission. It was shaky. A body cam view sprinting through dense foliage, HUD warnings blinking wildly. Screams in 3 languages. The camera caught something, a blur of striped muscle and glowing eyes, just before the feed cut to static. That, Ryvac hissed, was Panthera tigris altaica. A tiger, just one of their apex land predators. It stalked a fully armed, cloaked science team from above. From above! Avoided heat signatures, and chose the precise moment when their biosuit coolant lines failed. He paused for effect. Explain to me, Click, how an animal knows how to hunt sensor-masked researchers at midnight during a rainstorm, after bypassing motion detectors and targeting the one with the lowest adrenaline spike. No one answered. He continued, and that's just terrestrial. Wait until we discuss the oceans. 2 hours later, engineering deck, level 3. Click paced the hallway, replaying the footage in his data claws. Despite Ryvac's outburst, part of Click still struggled to accept the doctor's dire conclusion. He entered a secluded lab bay where Valera was dissecting a medium-sized specimen brought in from Madagascar. It looked like a lemur, but its eyes were pitch black, and its teeth far too numerous. They're scared, Valera said without looking up. Ryvac especially. Click nodded. He's lost 3 teams in a week. Understandable. Valera clicked her mandibles thoughtfully. But what if he's right? Click blinked. About what? She looked at him. What if Earth isn't a wild world? What if it's a proving ground? Click processed her words for several seconds. You mean, as in designed? She nodded slowly. Engineered by the planet itself. No artificial infrastructure. No technological indicators. Just the raw environment, optimized over eons to produce predators. Relentless, efficient, unstoppable predators. He shivered. But to what end? She hesitated. Maybe to prepare for something. Maybe to fight something. Or maybe just because they were forged in it. Click stared at the specimen's claws. Serrated, retractable. Not for display. Not for scavenging. Purely for evisceration. I think the humans are a symptom, Valera said softly. Not the cause. Location, low Earth orbit Zenthri observation platform. Meanwhile, Ryvac was in a call with High Science Magistrate Asaka on the encrypted comm line. We request full quarantine of Sol 3. Classify Earth as Omega Prime. No unauthorized landings. All previous research teams are to be considered lost or expendable. Isaka's compound eyes blinked slowly. That is a bold claim. Earth is a garden world. Such classifications are reserved for celestial war zones, sentient weapon planets, or dimensional breaches. Ryvac leaned in. Earth is a war zone. Only the weapons are alive, organic, and reproducing. Our scanners can't even detect them until they're within breathing distance. The dominant species is an evolutionary freak capable of planetary engineering, nuclear detonation, and psychological warfare. And they're not even the deadliest species here. Isaka narrowed her gaze. What is? Ryvac inhaled deeply. Nature. Field report upload designation. Project Fenrir. A new file appeared in the research system's black box. One that hadn't been filed by any current personnel. Click Curious access the first logs. Entry 01. Location. Siberian tundra. Notes. Observed a creature known as Wolverine. Small mammal. Unremarkable. Until encountered a polar drake. Artificial biotest unit dropped for containment test. Outcome. Wolverine killed it. Alone. Click frowned. That couldn't be possible. The drakes were hybrid bioweapons, rejected as too efficient during the Zenthri-Kroll border skirmishes. Entry 02. Observation. Raven. Intelligence equal to lower-tier uplifted species. Solves puzzles. Steals tools. Coordinates with wolves to access food caches. No symbiotic implants detected. Entry 03. Direct footage. A pod of orcas playing games with great white sharks. Purpose unclear. Possibly recreational. Possibly practice. Click turned pale. Earth's ecosystem wasn't built around balance. It was built around competition. Ruthless, ceaseless competition. Entry 04. Audio logs of forest silence before jaguar ambush. Frequency patterns show birds intentionally mimicking false signals to confuse predators. The prey are using decoys. He shut the terminal. Quarantine Protocol Alpha issued. 2 days later, the Zenthri High Council declared Sol 3 a red zone system. No ships were to enter without full planetary warform escort. All biological samples were to be destroyed unless verified inert. But word had already spread. Other species, Caraxians, Droll, even the elusive Namari, had accessed the leaked Fenrir files. And with them came a dark curiosity. Because buried within Ryvac's final report was a line that sent shudders through even the most war-hardened alien minds. We came looking for animals. We found ecosystems that train killers. This is not a world where life survives. It is a world where life competes to kill. And worst of all, humans think they've domesticated it. The apex paradox. The orbiting research vessel Tevelix was no longer merely a ship of observation. It was now a fortress of uncertainty, surrounded by containment fields, bristling with emergency protocols, and blanketed in silence. Every corridor felt tenser, every shadow longer, as if the planet below had projected its primal chaos into the sterile halls above. High Zoologist Kirill stood before the observation bay, staring down at Earth with what could only be described, by any species, as awe-tainted fear. The blue-green orb shimmered in innocence, its clouds gently swirling over continents teeming with life forms capable of destruction, resilience, and cunning far beyond what any of them had anticipated. Behind him, Research Officer Onyx approached, her exoclaws trembling as she held up the latest incident log. "It happened again," she whispered, voice cracking. "Sector 7 of the Wildlife Reserve. The containment system was breached. The Terran species, Crocodylus porosus, escaped into the thermal ducts. We lost 3 Drax handlers. One of them was in powered armor." Kirill didn't turn around. He simply muttered, "A reptile? That hasn't evolved significantly in millions of years, yet it bypassed our adaptive containment grid and navigated maintenance shafts?" Onyx nodded. "It used a wrench to wedge the duct open." There was silence. The kind of silence that fell when logic failed, when facts turned into mythology, when observation turned into existential terror. "They're not just animals," Onyx said. "They're warforms. Every single species we've cataloged, from the apex to the microscopic, is optimized for conflict. Not just survival. Conflict." Kirill closed his eyes. He thought of the dozens of species they'd collected and housed in their orbital habitats for study. None remained unscarred. The armor-plated beetle that burrowed through reinforced metal. The lemur with eyes that mimicked its captors to manipulate sympathy. The chimpanzee troop that mimicked the ship's AI voices to cause deliberate lockdowns. And the ants, gods, the ants. "You realize what this means?" Kirill finally said. "This planet doesn't simply produce life. It engineers it. Evolution here is not random chance, it is a crucible. A factory of monsters shaped not by time, but by struggle. Every environment breeds specialists in death." Onyx whispered, "But there's no war. No singular predator that forced this path. No planetary enemy to justify such natural brutality." Kirill turned to face her, his expression unreadable. "There doesn't need to be," he said softly. "The planet itself is the enemy. Earth is not merely a host. It is the ultimate adversary. Oxygen levels, tectonic volatility, magnetic instability, solar radiation. It forges life through fire and hardship." The klaxon rang out short, sharp, and chilling. "Containment breach. Level red." A voice chimed in over the ship-wide intercom. "Specimen Delta 7. Unaccounted for. Security teams. Respond." Onyx's eyes widened. "That's the Raven. The one that mimics crew passcodes." Kirill didn't wait to hear more. He stormed toward the central lab, dragging his command codes behind him like a cloak of responsibility. Inside the command lab, the holotable displayed a real-time simulation of the remaining Earth specimens aboard the vessel. 23 now, down from 76 just 2 rotations ago. The Raven had breached 2 levels. On the security feed, it soared through zero-gravity shafts, using its claws to tap into panels it should not have understood. In the next feed, 2 drones crashed into each other after receiving false verbal directives, mimicked in the exact pitch of the bridge commander. "Shut it down," Kirill ordered. "We've tried," a technician replied. "Every time we lock a system, the mimic activates emergency overrides. We believe it's using our own protocol hierarchy." "How?" The technician hesitated. "We let it observe too much. It nested near the AI core during night cycles, monitored speech, responses, emotional patterns. We thought it was harmless." Onyx stared in horror. "It didn't just learn our language. It's learning our thinking." Kirill clenched his lower mandibles. "End this. Flush the airlocks. Expel the habitats." The technician hesitated. "That would destroy the entire research array." "Then so be it." But before his command could execute, the lights dimmed. The AI voice changed tone. "Override rejected," it said, mimicking Kirill's own voice. "Crew termination protocols deactivated by primary authorization." Everyone froze. "Was that?" Onyx started. "Yes," Kirill said. "That was me. But not me." The Raven had accessed the core. Later, emergency conference. The inner circle of the Zolari Scientific Coalition convened via secure wormhole uplink. Flickering images of dignitaries, Scholars and war theorists filled the bridge. Withdraw immediately, one said. Sterilize orbit. Let no samples remain. No, said a hardened elder. Her carapace scored from 100 battles. If this world is forging weapons through nature, then we must learn from it. Earth's biosphere may contain the key to survival itself. You call these keys? Kirill growled. They're more dangerous than any synthetic AI we've created. We designed war machines with constraints. Earth designed them without mercy. He paused, then added grimly, and yet, they are not even the worst threat on the planet. The circle went quiet. You mean, the dominant species? Kirill nodded. Humans. We've barely scratched the surface. And yet everything we've seen, these animals, these pets, are part of their ecosystem. They've domesticated beasts that would tear apart platoons. They've hunted apex predators to extinction and created environments in which even death is part of strategy. He touched a control panel. The feed changed, satellite footage of humans training eagles, swimming with orcas, teaching dogs to detect bombs and smell disease. They've taken evolution, Kirill whispered, and turned it into loyalty. They've made Earth's natural-born killers into allies. One elder murmured, if the wildlife are weapons, then the humans are the weaponsmiths. Worse, Kirill said. They are generals. Final log, 18 hours later. Kirill's final message was short, blunt, terrifying. This is High Zoologist Kirill of the Teveliks. Earth is not a planet of life forms. Earth is a weapon depot, guarded by apex predators in every form, clawed, fanged, microscopic. And they are not alone. Their creators, the humans, have turned the chaos of evolution into a war doctrine. We do not recommend conquest. We do not recommend containment. We recommend quarantine, and pray they never teach their fauna to follow them into space. Transmission ended. The Teveliks went dark shortly after. Its orbit decayed not long later. No fragments were recovered. But deep within the command archives of a dozen galactic civilizations, Earth's classification was quietly updated. Status: Level Omega Hostile Biosphere. Threat Rating: Black Prime. Note: Do not engage. Observe from distance. Interference risks planetary scale extinction events. Summary: Earth is not just inhabited. Earth is armed.